This is a public broadcast. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. Why should a YouTube video be any different? In this video series, at times, you, dear viewer, play the part of a tinfoil wearing individual. It is just a part. None of my dialogues are demeaning you personally. Unless, of course, you truly are one of those tinfoil wearing individuals. Thank you for your understanding.
The traditional Chinese medicine, with a history of thousands of years, have played a very significant role in this war against virus. According to the statistics, over 90% of the confirmed cases in China have received the Chinese medicine treatment, and the overall effective rate is as high as 92%.
What the?
Ring around the rosy.
We're all stupid. We're all going to die. Let's get some facts straight first. In modern medicine, around a quarter of the drugs prescribed to patients are derived from medical plants, and they are rigorously tested. By the way, that quarter figure is based on prescriptions from American community pharmacies between 1959 and 1980. So I would say it is seriously out of date. One of the most common drugs is aspirin. Hippocrates, the Greek physician known as the father of medicine, who lived about 460 to 377 BC, wrote that yellow leaves and bark relieved pain and fevers. It wasn't until thousands of years later that people began to isolate the key ingredient of aspirin. An 18th century clergyman, Edward Stone, rediscovered aspirin. Finally, French pharmacist Henri Leroux isolated the key ingredient, salicylic acid, in 1829. Then there is Digoxin, which has a fascinating story. The discovery of digitalis is accredited to the Scottish doctor William Withering. In 1775, one of his patients came to him with a very bad heart condition, and since Withering had no effective treatment for him, thought he was going to die. The patient, being an independent type, went instead to a local gypsy, took a secret herbal remedy, and promptly got much better. When Withering heard about this, he became quite excited and searched for the gypsy throughout the byways of Shropshire. Eventually, he found her and demanded to know what was in the secret remedy. After much bargaining, the gypsy finally told her secret. The herbal remedy was made from a whole concoction of things, but the active ingredient was the purple foxglove, Digitalis purpurea. Digoxin was first isolated in 1930 from that plant. Is one of the best known treatments to control heart rate. By the way, both salicylic acid and foxglove has also been used as a poison. In fact, one of my favorite historical figures, Gregory Rasputin, saved Alexei, the only son of Tsar Nicholas II, who was being treated for hemophilia, with a wonder drug which by all account was aspirin. In science, we try to figure out the cause, or key ingredient, or chemical composition. Then we test the hell out of it. We still do clinical studies on a drug as old as widely used like aspirin. In one of my other videos, I talked about the rigorous process FDA-approved drug has to go through. Quick refresher. In the context of a clinical trial, double-blind means that neither the patients nor the researchers know who's getting a placebo and who's getting the treatment. Because patients don't know what they're getting, their belief about what will happen doesn't taint the result. Let's look at some of these claims, shall we? As I started looking more into each of these claims, there were some common elements between all. So instead of repeating myself, let's discuss the common traits in these articles. Treating symptoms is not the same as treating the disease. In UK, we normally take ibuprofen for fever, which we can purchase at supermarket. Now, COVID-19 has similar symptoms to fever, and ibuprofen might help with the symptoms, but it's not a treatment to get rid of COVID-19. My preemptive explanation on why this is a big deal. You might be asking that question yourself. If a medicine can help with the symptoms, what's the big deal? Actually, there is no issue with that. But when these are labeled as a cure or treatment for COVID-19, it makes someone feel invincible and take a lot more risk, which in turn can help spread the virus. Of course, over time after studies have completed, it's possible that any of these concoctions can prove to be effective. Please wait until that and ensure it has been peer-reviewed. Sorry for my pessimism, but we can all agree that China was late notifying the world and their data has always been suspectful. We're talking about a government that tries to cover up Tiananmen Square. By the way, that anniversary is coming up on 4th of June, but with the conditions in Hong Kong, for the first time in 30 years, police in Hong Kong have denied permission for organizers to hold the annual vigil for the victims, citing coronavirus concerns. Which is weird, as we will see some medicine and formulas that apparently been proven to stop COVID-19.
As China continues to export its experience to the world, the Chinese medicine is saving lives in more and more countries. Among the medical supplies that China donated to Italy, Iran, and other countries, there are two traditional Chinese medicine, Lianhua Qingwen and Jinhua Qinggan.
3 formulas and 3 medicines have been proven to be effective in curbing the virus, according to the State Administration of Traditional Chinese Medicine. Jinhua Qinggan Granule was developed during the 2009 H1N1 influenza pandemic. It consists of 12 herbal components and can clear heat and detoxify lungs. In early February, 102 mild patients in Wuhan took this granule in their treatments. Only 11.8% worsened, and it took only 1.5 days for patients to reduce fever. A comparative experiment showed patients who took this granule tested negative for coronavirus 2.5 days earlier than a group that did not take this granule. Oh, so many things to decipher and note. Small test group with a qualifier mild patient. It doesn't mention any control group. The final line is what really annoyed me. That is some nicely written bullshit. Here is why. Any of us can only be one of 4 states: infected, not infected, recovered, or dead. Obviously, the 4th state doesn't apply. We both go for the test at the same time. Our state at that time is what the test will be performed on. Reading that statement implies the tests were done at the same time. Remember, that's the state all those patients are in. Now, please reread that line and tell me what it means. So the group that did not take the granule, were they tested positive? Or were they tested negative 2.5 days later? Are they saying the test took 2.5 days longer to run for that control group? Now, anyone with any knowledge of testing would know how silly it sounds. The only way to perform this miracle is to send the samples 2.5 days later. Easy. Lianhua Qingwen. This one has been a bit hard to find any real data, so let's have a look at the actual company site for product details. Unless I'm reading it wrong, it seems to be treating the symptoms like fatigue and fever, but not the coronavirus itself. For clinical studies, I found a couple of studies, but those are all for influenza. The ones conducted in China are already over, but the ones conducted in USA is expected to have a study complete at the end of next year. That's year 2021. I found only one for COVID-19. On this study, they're using 240 patients with 50-50 control group. I think the total number is low, but anyway. While looking at the exclusion criteria, it seems very restrictive. Anyway, this study is expected to end at 1st of December 2020, so it's not completed yet. I also found a quality assessment of the clinical trial protocols from SSRN and Lancet. Following is from that actual study document. Finding of our quality assessment indicated that existing trial protocols could be further improved on several aspects, including selection and definition of outcome measures, description of study interventions and comparators, study subject recruitment time, definition of study inclusion and exclusion criteria, and allocation consultant methods. Make what you want out of it. It seems like they want to be improving on every single aspect of the study. One final thing, I found some articles about Sweden putting embargo on Lianhua Qingwen. Strangely though, the only result all appeared in Chinese publication. One would assume we would at least find some reports regarding this from Sweden. Next, Xuebijing Injection. Once again, I can't find any completed result. There are a couple of clinical studies in progress, but either those tests are for flu or in progress, i.e., either phase 1 or phase 2. There are many such results that talk about how great it is without giving any factual data. Lung cleansing and detoxifying Decoction. Reading this one, I think we solved it, ladies and gentlemen. Tong Xiaolong said, 1,261 novel coronavirus patients in 10 provinces took these decoctions, with 1,102 recovering and symptoms no longer appearing in 29, a further 71 showing improvement and no case deteriorating. So this concoction didn't only work on 88 people out of 1,120. That's over a 92% success rate. Wait, why isn't this number 1 then? I mean, this reads way much better than others. Once again, no data. I managed to locate a study by searching the Chinese word. According to that study, first phase included 88 patients, second phase included 635, and apparently all patients were treated and have been cured and discharged. At the bottom of the page we have related research result will be published in successions. Okay. HuaShiBaiDu Formula. Again, it only talks about treating the symptoms. But on this page, I'll read a bit more into this line. Studies on guinea pigs found the formula can reduce lung viral load by 30%. For an investigational new drug application or IND, the entity must show the FDA results of preclinical testings in laboratory animals and what they propose to do for human testing. At this stage, FDA decides whether it is reasonably safe for the company to move forward with testing the drugs in humans. Between us, if I had my drugs tested on humans with good results, I would have mentioned it. XuanFeiBaiDu Granule. Nothing really to add, again, it's just the symptoms. Qinggan Yin, General Manager of the Institute of Chinese Medicine in London says, clinical trials are very difficult to show the actual benefit of traditional herbs, not just Chinese, but also traditional Western herbs. No shit, Sherlock. Real medicine does it just fine. So do you care to explain why the difference? And your herbs fails the same way as other bullshit herbs. Well done. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. When one claims some ancient medicine would heal all ailments and maybe even solve world hunger, one needs to back it up with extraordinary evidence. Having some websites regurgitating the same text without any links to actual case studies doesn't count. Overall, to me it feels like China is trying to create another narrative. In 2019, Twitter reported a bunch of fake accounts originating from China with the statement, overall, these accounts were deliberately and specifically attempting to sow political discord in Hong Kong, including undermining the legitimacy and political positions of the protest movement on the ground. One thing to clarify here, these propagandas are from the Chinese government CCP and not the Chinese people. I had an amazing time in Shenzhen. I loved the food, the culture, but not so much for their social credit system. It is damn near impossible to stand up against CCP. MMA fighter named Xu Xiaodong or Mad Dog gained prominence online after taking down traditional Chinese martial artists. There was significant blowback on social media where he was accused of disparaging Chinese culture and his family received death threats. Additionally, his social credit rating was lowered to the point where he could not rent, own property, stay in certain hotels, travel on high-speed rail, or even buy plane tickets. Anyway, I have posted a link to Mad Dog's YouTube channel down in the description. If you're going to subscribe to only one channel today, then I'd rather you go and subscribe to Mad Dog to voice your support rather than my channel. If you want to find out more about China corruption, I would suggest China Uncover. I've been following this channel over several years, link down below in description. Finally, I came across part of the original propaganda at a channel called Lianhua06. I recently found this channel and I'm enjoying the content. Again, link down below. Well, that's all for this video. Next time you come across an extraordinary claim, please ask for extraordinary proof. That's all. As you might have noticed that this is quite a new channel, and during this genesis, comments and subscribe counts a lot more than usual. So if you have enjoyed this content, please drop a comment and like the video, and maybe subscribe as well. Also check out some of my other videos. Thank you.
Try.